For the last several years here on the channel, I have made a bunch of GPU content, and honestly, I have leveraged those GPUs to make my content. And I'm talking NVENC encoders and AV1 encoders. I would always use these encoders to record all of my videos, edit my videos, render my videos, and yes, even live stream. I would very rarely ever venture out outside of the encoders on the GPUs. I would mostly just have the CPU for doing other desktop related tasks, but I would never actually use the CPU to do any type of content creation at all whatsoever. And most recently, I decided to start doing this 30-day challenge series here on the channel. And I started with the 9070 XT, and that was an overwhelming success. So next up, I decided to ask myself, how else can I challenge myself? And I decided to switch over and use the Intel platform instead of my usual AMD platform. And I decided to go with the 270K Plus because it's one of the most recently released CPUs from Intel, and it got a lot of positive reviews. Now, I did get some pushback and people told me, hey man, that's not really a challenge. I mean, Intel makes great products. The 270K Plus is a great CPU. I don't really know what you're talking about by challenging yourself. The reason why it's a challenge is in two ways. Number one, I'm having to learn how to properly tune the CPU, and I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot more to take into consideration here, especially when you compare it to the AMD side of things. AMD is a little bit more plug and play, especially if you're using X3D CPUs, but you can tinker with it and mess with it a little bit more with Curve Shaper and Curve Optimizer and things of that nature. But I've been there and I've done that, and I've done it so much that it's basically like second nature to me now. And number two, I will only be using the 270K Plus to make all of my content for the 30-day challenge. Now, what that means is that yes, I will still have an NVIDIA GPU installed in my PC, but I will not leverage the NVENC encoder or the AV1 encoder. I will only leverage whatever is available with the 270K Plus. And much to my surprise, the 270K Plus is incredibly versatile. It has 24 cores, so it's incredibly fast, snappy, and it definitely shows whenever I'm using Windows as well as any other productivity application. My Davinci Resolve timeline has honestly never felt smoother. But on top of that, Intel has QuickSync, which is something that has been around for quite some time, but it seems like all they do is continue to improve it because now QuickSync also has access to AV1 encoding. So even though I'm making the sacrifice of not using the AV1 encoder on my 50 series GPUs, I still have a solid AV1 encoder right there on the 270K Plus. And I'm going to be honest with you, I had no idea that was a thing until I started this challenge. And that's why challenges like this are so fun to me, because I learn and discover things that normally I just wouldn't look into. Yeah, I could have looked that up beforehand and Googled it and whatever, but one, that takes all the fun out of it. And two, I didn't really have a reason to do that because AV1 has always been available to me ever since I've had 50 series cards and the 9070 XT. So anyway, I didn't really have a reason to look into what the CPU could or couldn't do. I just decided, hey, let's switch to Intel and see what happens. And you know what? I have been pleasantly surprised. Davinci Resolve can take full advantage of QuickSync. It makes my timeline very smooth, but also I can render out using QuickSync AV1. So I still get the quality that I'm used to with an NVIDIA series GPU. And then on top of that, OBS can even take advantage of QuickSync AV1. And I'm able to use that for both live streaming and recording these videos. This video is being recorded with the 270K Plus using QuickSync AV1. And most recently, we went live here on the channel, and that entire live stream was being streamed and encoded with QuickSync AV1. And during that entire live stream, I got multiple comments where people were telling me that the live stream looked absolutely incredible. It was crystal clear, no lagging or anything like that. And at the end, I even ended up checking my OBS stats, and it told me I had 0 dropped frames, and we streamed for 3.5 hours. And for those of you wondering, here are my OBS settings using the 270K Plus. So if you want to copy these settings for your own Intel system, definitely feel free to try it out and let me know how it worked for you on your live stream. And now switching over to the recording tab, here are the settings that I'm using every time I'm recording a video, including this video right here that you are currently watching. So if you're happy with the quality of the video you see in front of you, definitely check out these settings as well. And finally, here are my Davinci Resolve render settings. I record in 1080p, I edit in 1080p, but I do render out in 4K, so I am upscaling. And here are the settings that I'm using to do that with the Intel 270K Plus. Feel free again to copy those if you're using an Intel CPU, and let me know how it works out for you. Now to take it up a notch, whenever I announced this challenge, I got a comment from somebody who is basically saying that he can push his 270K Plus to 5.8 all P core and 5.2 5.2 on the E cores. Now, first of all, I said, oh, great, here we go. Another person that wants to tell me, you know, how they're so much better at overclocking and tuning systems, etc. You always get that in every tech video you make. But then I also thought, nah, there's no way this is possible. He didn't do it. But I couldn't stop thinking about that comment. So I decided, what the heck? I went in and cranked up my P cores from 5.5 to 5.8. And I fully expected my system to crash and burn and all that stuff. Never happened. Believe it or not, I'm actually able to run all P cores locked at 5.8 gigahertz with no crashes, and it is fully stable. Now, with that being said, there is a massive trade-off here. I went into Call of Duty and I started playing, and I immediately noticed that while I'm at 5.8 gigahertz on my P cores, my temperatures were sky high. Even with a 360 millimeter AIO, my temperatures were high. So obviously cranking up the clock speed here definitely made the chip run hotter. And then I tried 5.2 gigahertz on the E cores, and unfortunately anything above 4.9 on all the E cores eventually ends up crashing. Only 4.9 on all the E cores seems to be stable for me. Now, with that being said, I could probably get these numbers to be a little bit better if I were to apply more voltage for the E cores, but I don't want to do that. My main concern is getting good, consistent, high performance while also keeping the temperatures relatively low. And if I add in more voltage, the temperatures are not going to get any lower. Now, with that being said, I decided to run more tests in Cinebench with the multi-core test, because here's what I wanted to figure out. I realized, okay, yeah, I can do 5.8 gigahertz all P-core. Yes, it is stable, but my temperatures are higher. But does that matter? Does it matter if the temperatures are higher if I'm still within operating parameters of the CPU and I'm able to hit, you know, the clock speed that I want to hit, and it's not crashing? What does it matter what the temperatures are? These are thoughts that were going through my head, but there's a couple of things about that. Number one, the temperatures matter because, well, frankly, it's drawing more power, which obviously adds to your electrical costs, but also it puts out more heat in the room that I'm in. Furthermore, there are diminishing returns here. Looking at my multi-core testing over on Cinebench, the higher I went, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8 gigahertz, the score did not get higher. The score actually continued to get lower, and that is because I was thermal throttling. But the moment I dialed it back and just did 5.5 gigahertz all P-core, I had the highest score yet. And yes, I understand that, you know, Cinebench is not an exact science, and sometimes you have to take these points with a grain of salt, but the pattern is what I want to point out here. The pattern is that the higher I went on my P-cores, the hotter my chip got, and the lower my score was, and the faster I was able to hit thermal throttling. So at 5.5 gigahertz all P-cores, that seems to be the ideal spot for me, at least for now, with just a 360 millimeter AIO. Now, with all that being said, I want to start looking into more cooling solutions. I'm actually considering direct die and delitting the CPU. I'm looking at custom loops. And the main reason why is simply because I've discovered that the 270K Plus, at least mine anyway, can definitely go further if I push it. But it has a massive limitation of thermal throttling because, well, I just have a 360 AIO on it. So if I can find a way to allow for more cooling performance, more cooling capabilities, then I can get closer to that 5.8 gigahertz all P-core and not necessarily hit diminishing returns and maybe not thermal throttle at all. Or if I do still thermal throttle, it won't be as quick. So yeah, I think you get the point, right? So I'm starting to look into those solutions, but you know, they can be a little bit costly. Anyway, I don't know if I'll do that, but it is something I'm starting to look into. Anyway, I just wanted to share a very quick update about the challenge so far, and so far I'm very impressed with the 270K Plus. No, it's not perfect, but what is, right? And you might say, well, if it's not perfect, what is your one complaint or multiple complaints or whatever? The only thing I can complain about is just, yeah, I mean, it definitely does hog some power and it does get pretty hot pretty quickly. But I mean, it's 2026. A lot of CPUs run very hot. So, I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We're still within operating parameters, so there's no problems there. Overall, my system feels incredibly smooth. It's very stable. I've had no crashes outside of, you know, just me pushing it and tuning it and tweaking it and things of that nature. But so far, I'm super impressed with the 270K Plus. I'm excited to continue with the challenge and give you more updates along the way. Stay tuned for more live streams. They're coming. If you want to be a part of those, I'll love chatting with you guys. I'm gonna be switching up the live streaming, adding in more elements to make it more demanding. And the next time I go live, I'll actually test the 270K Plus live in various games while also streaming with the 270K Plus. So we'll definitely be pushing it to the limit there. So definitely get subscribed for that. One last note, I finally launched channel memberships here. We just have one tier right now. It is the Discord access. If you want to join the Discord and be part of the community, we would love to have you. Just hit the join button. Anyway, with all that being said, that's it for now. Please hit the like button. It goes a long way in helping me out. If you're new, get subscribed. And until next time, E-Rock out.